Hello students, thank you for tuning in today. This video was created for you to provide answers to your questions. I'm so grateful to the many students who submitted questions and to the student committee that helped to guide this process.
What are your plans for addressing student housing insecurity, especially for continuing and graduate students? How do you intend to ensure that existing housing is safe and affordable?
Well, housing is one of our greatest opportunities at UC Santa Cruz. We already house over 9,300 students. That's one of the highest residency rates in the UC system. And CHES has worked out a 10-year strategic housing plan that focuses both on new construction projects and then renovations and refreshes. And that together will accomplish our goal of providing both more housing opportunities for students as well as housing more students on our campus. So you've probably seen that we already have some of those projects coming online. There's the Family Student Housing and New Child Care Center near the base of campus, and the Big Crane and the construction at Kresge. Once the Kresge construction is done, we will have 600 additional beds for undergraduate students coming online in 2026 and 2027. And then when that project wraps up, we'll be moving graduate students into the Redwood Grove apartments. Really excited about our project on Delaware Avenue because that one will be finished in August of 2026, just 6 months from now. And that will provide 350 apartment beds for upper division students on the west side of Santa Cruz. We're also working with Cabrillo College on a project on their campus that will house 240 UC Santa Cruz students. Some of them will start as Cabrillo as transfers and stay there in that housing, and others will be students, either transfers or upper division students from our campus. And then we have a project, a big one, on Heller Drive that will have the first phase ready in 2029, and we'll have over 1,000 beds in that phase, with the second phase a few years later to deliver over 1,300 apartment beds for upper division students. So let's address now the second part of that question, which is about safety and affordability. So CHES is also working on a plan to do refreshes on our existing housing. I think Rachel Carson is first in line, and that one probably will start in the summer of 2027 with some additional colleges to follow on after that. We have plans for Oaks College to renovate and add 450 beds there. Those will probably come online around 2031. And then after that, the Cowell residence halls will be renovated, and also we'll hope to add some beds to that project too. Affordability is really key. We know how important that is for students. So we take that into account in all of our planning and do everything we can to help make it affordable. It's a little bit complicated to try and be planning for future construction and renovation while we're setting rates now, but affordability is really key to everything we do.
Many students and other stakeholders are deeply concerned about ongoing shifts in the environment of federal rules, regulations, and funding. What are your plans to sustain DEI initiatives and UC Santa Cruz's status as a driver of social mobility?
Well, I first want to address, the concerns that so many of our students and their family members have. We want to support you with compassion and empathy. Diversity, equity, inclusion is a core value of UC Santa Cruz. We've retained our Office of DEI. We continue to support our student resource centers. We know those things matter for student success and for the well-being of our campus community. We execute our mission of teaching, research, and service in ways that are consistent with the applicable state and federal laws. And UC Santa Cruz is just a really special university. We're a public research university grounded in our values, and that will not change no matter what. I'm proud of what UC Santa Cruz does for our students with respect to social mobility. It resonates with me because I was a low-income first-generation student, and my parents wanted for me a different life than the one that they had lived. And so university provided that pathway for me, and we do that every day for students here at UC Santa Cruz. One of the opportunities we have to help with social mobility is to provide students with on-campus employment opportunities, with research experiences, paid internships. Those things all provide students with a way to help pay for their education while getting the skills and the experiences they need to be competitive for jobs on graduation day.
How will UC Santa Cruz ensure students are protected amid immigration and customs enforcement raids?
I know this is a really challenging time for so many students and their families, and we want to do everything we can to support you. The campus has in place all the necessary procedures to be consistent with SB 98 and AB 21. If students have concerns about the presence of immigration enforcement on campus, you can call the Dean of Students' office any time of the day, and they will coordinate with other offices to make sure the required warrants are in place and to support students in those situations. We care deeply about our undocumented community members, and we want to continue to support you.
What will your approach be to the mass cancellations of NSF, NIH, and NEA research funding and other federal programs like SNAP that students rely on for support?
UC Santa Cruz and all the U.S. research universities really grappled with both the termination of some grants and also changes broadly to federal funding for research. I'm really happy that most of our grants that were terminated were reinstated thanks to lawsuits that we filed through AAU and other higher ed offices. Even with that, we still are going to have challenges going forward. It's not yet clear how the government's going to continue to fund research, although there's preliminary suggestions that the bills that are currently being considered by Congress will come in with research funding not too much below what we experienced this year. I've worked really hard to advocate for research funding with the federal government agencies and with Congress, and I know our Vice Chancellor for Research and so many of our faculty have done the same. Research is really a core part of our mission, and when we had grants canceled, we worked hard to try and help mitigate the impacts of those cancellations, particularly on graduate students. But last year, our researchers brought in $210 million in funding. We just can't completely replace those grants with campus funds. Let's talk about the SNAP part of the question. That was probably posed before that SNAP was reinstated. I was so happy about that. And I'm also, though, proud of the way our campus responded during that period to support students and help them bridge through this temporary pause in funding. We and are very active, many of us, in seeking funding to help support student basic needs. And that student basic needs work helps our students every day. It's food insecurity, relief, but other things too.
Students with disabilities face numerous issues on campus, including affordability and access to appropriate housing environments. How do you intend to maintain UC Santa Cruz's commitment to inclusion for students with disabilities?
Thanks for that question. Providing an inclusive environment for all of our students is our top priority, and certainly that's true for our students with disabilities. There's a lot we try to do to support students with disabilities. The Disability Resource Center collaborates very closely with housing to help meet the accommodation needs of students. And we also established this testing center here in Kerr Hall and have expanded it so that there's more times available and access opportunities so that when students take their tests, they can demonstrate what it is that they know. I'm excited too that we're hiring a new director for the DRC. That's such an important position, and it was great that so many students were involved in that selection process. That leader will be important to our inclusion efforts on campus and also in helping to provide training for faculty and staff about inclusive practices. As important as the DRC is, though, inclusion can't be driven by one office alone. It's all of our responsibility, and it's a responsibility we take very seriously here at UC Santa Cruz.
Many students, particularly students of color, are concerned about their right to safely assemble and demonstrate for the causes that are important to them. What are your thoughts on time, place, and manner regulations and on the need to balance the continuity of campus operations with a commitment to free speech?
Yeah, that's a great question. I know that many students, including our students of color, have concerns about this area. And it's a balance. We want to support free speech and free expression. They're really important to our students. They're also important to universities and the ability to help people exercise those rights. We also have to balance the needs of the campus community, students being able to go to class, people being able to do their research, and to do their work. So we should be able to manage that, and that's what the time, place, and manner regulations are really intended to do. So we had these rules on our books for a while. But then in the last couple years, the UC Santa Cruz and the UC system and many other universities have made those rules more structured and tried to be able to communicate about them in a clearer way. The goal of that is to help students be able to have their free expression, to make decisions about how they conduct demonstrations, and yet still keep campus operations open so that we provide access to everybody. It's a way of having free speech and also accessibility.
First-generation students and students of color, along with many others, struggle with mental health issues. How are you ensuring that these students are having their needs met by CAPS and that resources are allocated to serve those who are most vulnerable?
Yeah, thank you. It's an important question. So, students' mental health needs is a concern at our university and at universities across the country. It's an issue that affects students broadly, including our first-gen and students of color. And CAPS recognizes this, and it provides a variety of modalities with which students can access their services. It includes traditional talk therapies, which works for some people, and for others who would prefer group therapy or access to online tools, those options are available. I like this Let's Talk program that CAPS has, which gives students the option of a Zoom or an in-person appointment across many locations on campus, and which they can speak with a counselor for 20 minutes with relatively short notice. I think that's really providing services in an accessible way. We also know that different students have different needs, and so CAPS works to provide culturally responsive services so that the students' needs are met more broadly. I would encourage students to just go to their website. I've given a few of their options, but I'm sure there's more online. So I hope that you seek the help that you need.
How is your office ensuring that UC Santa Cruz fulfills its obligations to environmental sustainability, particularly with respect to waste stream diversion and to energy use by increasingly prolific artificial intelligence programs?
Well, that's a great question. You may not know that sustainability was one of the campus's founding values. So we've been at this for 60 years. This year, we were named Princeton Review's Green Colleges competition #6 university in the country. I'm proud of that. I'm proud of so much we do from the Sustainability Office and the whole of our campus community. We have a plan to reduce fossil fuel emissions by 2045 to 90%. That's important given the climate impacts that we're facing. That's expensive. It'll cost about $750 million. And so as we're ramping up to the next 20 years, we're doing all we can now, and we'll continue that into the future. As an example, all our new construction on campus is gold LEED certified. And we also, as we have opportunities to replace failing boilers and other components, we try to do that with electrically powered units. And all our electricity on campus is clean electricity. It's sustainably produced, which is a great feature. This question asked more directly about waste streams, so I'd like to talk about that. I compost at home. I hope you do too. And so one of the ways we can help mitigate waste streams is by composting. The Sustainability Office has over 100 compost containers at various locations on campus. They also have a program in the apartments so that students in the apartments can compost, and they've introduced a pilot program in the Kresge residence halls for composting. So I think that's a great effort. Recycling is important too, so if you have a can or a bottle, make sure that you put it in a recycle bin. The other aspect of this question was about AI, and the proliferation of these AI data centers is something many of us are concerned about because they consume so much power, and they consume a lot of water too because they use that for cooling purposes. Universities and UC Santa Cruz, we don't have data centers directly, so we are limited in how we can control those impacts. But we did create an AI committee that's got among its many charges having it so that we can use AI in a way that's both ethical and financially sustainable, and also mitigate the impacts to the environment. So that's an important thing. I also like to highlight some of the research that happens on our campus. Jason Asherian, in particular in Baskin Engineering, is devising new algorithms for AI that uses way less energy. He can run his algorithm on the energy it takes to light a light bulb. And then he's also building chips to use with these new AI algorithms. So I think UC Santa Cruz can also lead the way in helping to think future forward about AI and how we use it.
How are you ensuring that the land upon which UC Santa Cruz is established is being carefully and judiciously stewarded as the traditional home of the Upi tribe and the Amamutsan tribal band, and that UCSC stakeholders are aware and cognizant of the relationship between the campus and these groups?
This is an important aspect of our campus, and we recognize and respect that this land is the unceded territory of the Waswas-speaking Yupi tribe, and that the Amamutsan tribal band is really stewarding this land and other lands in our region. One of the ways we acknowledge that is through our campus land acknowledgement, and I use that at every of the events that I organize, and I encourage others to do the same. But more than that, I think it's important that we really engage with the Amamutsan. And one of the best ways that the campus does this is through our Arboretum. At the Arboretum, they've had for about 15 years this Amamutsan relearning program, which helps the Amamutsan tribal band members access some of the historical knowledge of land stewardship. They have a garden there that the tribal members have access to and they can harvest from. And it's really been a really nice collaboration. If you haven't been to the Arboretum, I'd encourage you to go, both to see the beauty of the plants there, but also to see the land there that the Amamutsan have their garden in, and being able to find out more about the program directly.
Native American and Indigenous students make up the smallest percentage of the UCSC student population. As the youngest university of the Association of American Universities that holds the designation of Asian American, Native American, and Pacific Islander serving institution, what actions will you take to ensure future generations of Native and Indigenous students through outreach? Will you implement outreach programs to increase Native and Indigenous student populations at UCSC?
Yeah, we're proud of our and let's see, what should I say? We're proud of our AANAPISI designation, and we would like to recruit and mentor more Native students on our campus. I know that our admissions department conducts a lot of outreach, especially in Northern California, to meet with community members and students, and they work with the American Indian Resource Center to provide every year a booklet that can help provide students knowledge about our campus and help to recruit them to UC Santa Cruz. The AIRC is also really important in mentoring students and supporting them once they do come to UC Santa Cruz through a variety of cultural and other kinds of support mechanisms for Native and Indigenous students. I've had the opportunity and the privilege to participate in some of those, including a smudging ceremony. We also have financial aid opportunities for Native students that I'd like to highlight. The UC system has a Native American Opportunity Fund that students can apply to and receive funding from, and we also have other financial aid resources for Native students. As far as the other kinds of outreach and mentoring, I think some of the most important work we've done over the last few decades is in the area of hiring more Native identified faculty. And those faculty conduct research often relative to Native and Indigenous issues. They're also great role models and mentors and instructors. This year, we have a search in social psychology that focuses on the issues of Native Americans, and I'm excited to see how that will play out. In terms of outreach, another area that's really exciting is work that's being done by one of our art professors, Joseph Erb. Joseph is an amazing artist. He's also Cherokee and has been working with our campus and the Cherokee tribe in Oklahoma on pathways to really help recruit Cherokee students to come to UC Santa Cruz. So I think that's very exciting. All in all, our Native and Indigenous students and community members here at UC Santa Cruz are really important members of our community, and we appreciate what they bring to our campus. Glad to support them.
TAPS operates with a budget of $10 million and makes up a significant portion of the fees assessed to UCSC students. How do you plan to make campus transportation and parking operations more effective?
Well, I really appreciate the role that students through their fees play in supporting TAPS. And I think TAPS and students are really a good combination together to meet students' needs. I know that there was a referendum that passed in the spring that will create a new commission to help partner with TAPS on making sure students' needs come to the attention of the people who can help find solutions for those concerns. TAPS has among its responsibilities maintaining and expanding parking access. That can be done both through making new parking facilities or maintaining them. There were some upgrades to West Remote parking, but also thinking about schedules for buses and thinking about the best way to provide access to commuting students through our permits or other ways so that the students can access the campus when they need to. The other thing I'm excited about is the way that TAPS employs a lot of students. I think on-campus employment opportunities for students is important as a way for students to help fund their education and also get more skills. And I see when I leave in the evenings, sometimes students out there directing traffic, and that's both student employment, but it's also a big safety feature because it helps to make sure that students can get across those busy intersections safely. And that's especially important now that it's dark so early. I also see students in the evenings working for TAPS when I go to events and they're working on parking. And so I think that this collaboration between TAPS and students is probably one of the best ways to help ensure that TAPS can be effective and also meet students' needs and the needs of our greater community.
As we're all aware, UCSC and other UC campuses face significant financial challenges in the current operating environment. Some of these challenges, like possible reductions in graduate student cohort sizes, jeopardize UCSC's core mission in multiple ways. How are budget retrenchments being decided on at UCSC, and how does your vision for UCSC's mission influence your attitude toward financial decisions?
Yeah, I want to first address the graduate student part of this question because I think that's very specific and an important part of the question. So when we admit PhD students, we provide them with 5 years of funding so that they know they have support to complete their degree. And that funding comes in a couple of ways. Many students are funded to be teaching assistants. I'm sure you've had them in your courses, and those funds are not being cut. But other students are provided support in the form of a research assistantship that's paid for from federal grants. And we are seeing a reduction in federally funded research grants, and because of that, we're thinking carefully about how many PhD students we should admit so that we can be sure that we'll be able to provide them funding over the 5 years that we expect them to take to complete their degree. So let's switch gears and talk about the budget. It's true that UC Santa Cruz and other UC campuses and in fact public universities across the country are having funding challenges. And those funding challenges come largely because the costs of the university, of running the university, have grown faster than the revenue that the university receives. And that is, part of that is inflationary, electricity costs and other costs for the things the university buys. Part of it's related to personnel and benefits costs, which has gone up a lot. And so we've found ourselves in a situation where our expenditures, their spending, is much greater than the amount of revenue that we have. That's not sustainable. So in 2024, we established a budget advisory committee to look carefully at this issue and think about how we could reduce our spending in a way that puts our mission at the core. So the Budget Advisory Committee developed several principles and guidelines, and we have established a series of budget reductions that are different across different divisions in the university. So it means that administrative units take the highest cuts, and academic divisions take the lowest cuts. And then the student support programs are also have less a cut than the administrative divisions. In this way, we're putting students at the center, focusing on our mission of teaching and research, and working to have a balanced budget over a series of a few years so that we can have a sustainable future for UC Santa Cruz.
How do you envision success for the next 5 to 10 years at UC Santa Cruz? And what do you aspire to for your legacy as Chancellor?
When I came to UC Santa Cruz, the campus had grown quite a bit. Between 2008 and 2019, when I arrived, the campus had grown by 2,900 students, but only added housing for 374. So housing was a big priority of mine. And I'm really excited that we've been able to get a housing plan that is already starting to come to fruition. And over the next decade, we'll add about 40% more student housing. You've seen some of those projects coming online, the Kresge renovation and new development, the new campus child care center, and the family student housing at the basic campus. And I'm excited about the Delaware Avenue project that will be done in August, but there's a whole series of projects that will come after those. I'm excited too about academic programs, and I hope over the next 5 to 10 years we can build some more modern and interdisciplinary undergraduate programs and graduate programs too. One of the exciting ones for me is Global and Community Health. That's a program that's only in its 4th year, but it already has 528 majors in both social sciences and in the biological sciences. And we've built on that program now to have a pre-med post-bac program. That's a program for people who already have their baccalaureate degree or they're career changers, but want to have some additional mentoring and skill building and courses to prepare them to apply for medical school or other health professional schools. And we've recently announced our Central Coast Prime program. That's a collaboration between UC Santa Cruz and UC Davis to help train students from the Central Coast in medical school and then have them return here to the Central Coast and practice serving their communities. So the first cohort of students will start in July 2027. 6 students. That'll grow over time to 16. And those students will go to UC Davis for the first 2 years and then come back here in the Central Coast to do their clinical coursework. We are excited about that and think that will have a big impact on our community and on our students. We're also excited by the really, really long-term plan of eventually UC Santa Cruz having an independent medical school here. Wanted to also share that we've recently launched our campaign. It's Inspiring Change, the campaign for UC Santa Cruz. This is the second fundraising campaign in our 60-year history. We've set an ambitious goal of raising $750 million, and that will go to help support student success and mentoring, to support research and faculty. And I think it's a real opportunity for us to also tell our story and why we're excited about UC Santa Cruz. In the quiet phase of the campaign, we already raised $360 million. That's more than the first campaign in its total. And we hope to complete the campaign in 2030. I wanted to talk a little bit about how this can impact students. And we have started in the quiet phase of the campaign something we call the Student Success Initiative. That has already raised $86 million to support scholarships, fellowships, paid internship experiences for students, and support for students through resource centers and other programs. And basic needs, because we know how important that is. So I think that will continue to be a priority of our fundraising during this campaign. The question asked about my legacy, and I think my legacy is, I hope, trying to really position UC Santa Cruz for the best trajectory it can have over the next 60 years. I wake up every morning energized to come to work, and I tell everybody, I have the best job in the world, Chancellor of UC Santa Cruz. It's such a special university.
Would you be open to further student-directed dialogue or to participating in student events in the future?
Oh, thank you. Absolutely. I'm glad to participate in student dialogue. I like to hear from students and to talk to them too. And student events are one way that I'm able to do that broadly. For me, the opening of the school year is one of the high points of the year. And I had so much fun at Cornucopia. It was a beautiful day, and I had a chance to talk to so many students there. I go to a number of athletic events. I've been to several soccer games, look forward to getting to basketball as well. And then I go to cultural events too. I was at the UCSC Jazz Big Band concert. That was really fabulous, and look forward to coming to some of the theater performances in the winter and spring. I especially always enjoy ATAT. The other thing I try to do is to get into student spaces, to visit resource centers and and offices. I know I'm scheduled to go to the Cove and to the care office early in the winter. So I hope to see many students on campus or at events, or maybe I'll make my way into your spaces and look forward to hearing from you there. So, I guess in summary, I would say it's great to be able to be in dialogue with students, and I look forward to hearing from you and having more opportunities to connect in the future. Thanks for tuning in. I really appreciated this opportunity to answer student questions, and I'm grateful to all the students who submitted questions and to the student committee who consolidated the questions and helped guide the process. Take good care.